Hey everybody, sorry that it's been a while since the last video. It's been very hot here, so I'm struggling to find motivation to get out here in the garage and sweat over these knives. But that aside, I found a pretty decent camera setup, I think, so hopefully I'll be cranking out some videos sooner. So for this video, we'll talk about doing the scale pins. I have a 13 that I'm working on right now. Got some nice mammoth ivory on it. And I've already, of course, epoxied the scales to the liners. Given it a rough shaping with about 80 grit on the belt grinder. And drilled the holes for all the pins. So now what I'm going to do is relieve that hole that I'm going to use the scale pins for, so that the pin material has something to expand out into. So for that, I found just a Dremel bit, a little circular cutting bit. Not sure exactly what it's called, but works really well to relieve that area and provide a space for the pin to expand into. So I'll just do that, give it a few turns, and hopefully you can see it's removed some material around there. Create a little chamfering around that hole. So I'll go ahead and just do that for all the scale pins I'm going to do. The other tools I'm using today are going to be another Dremel bit, just a tiny little cone-shaped spiral cutting thing. I'm going to use that to relieve a little area on the top side of the scales. So the pin, again, has some area to mushroom out and expand into. So with those two expansions, that'll hold the scale material onto the liner. You don't want to overdo it, but with mammoth, I want to make sure I'm not having to bang on that material too much. So it's got plenty of room in there to expand. Shouldn't do a lot of stress to the material. So we should be good to go. I've got some 1/16 brass pin stock that I'll be using. GEC uses brass pin stock when they use brass liners, so I'll go ahead and match that. And I've already got these cut out into tiny little pieces that are good for this type of work. So I'll put that in there. I have just a little hand file. We'll flatten that side out, flip it over. Flatten the other side out, and we're ready to go. I always like to start on the scale side first. I think it, in the end, is going to be less stressful than if you do the scale side first. If you mushroom this out, then you flip it over, then you do this side. That additional hammering on this side is going to flare that out a little bit more. So by doing it second, I kind of avoid that and make sure the material doesn't crack, or at least give myself a better chance at that. So with my small hammer, I use this one just for the 1/16 pin stock. I'm going to start using the flat side and just kind of go around, work around the edge, get a nice little mushroom start going. So you can see we got a nice little mushroom going there. I'll make sure it's nice and even all the way around. Looks good. So I'm going to take this over to the grinder real quick, get rid of the rest of that, and leave it just a bit above the handle material. Not sure exactly how much I'll leave, but I'll show you here in a second. So I've got it pretty close to where I want it. I'm going to use the hand file to take off just a little more. So you can see I don't have it too much above the handle material, about a fingernail's width or so. And then I'll just go ahead and start working around the edge. Okay, so when I do the handle side, I like to use the ball end of the ball peen hammer. Not really sure, just a little bit more precise than this side. So experiment, play around with it, see what works for you. So we got that nice and mushroomed out. So I'm going to go back and just do a little bit more. I'm using pretty light taps. Like I had mentioned before, you want to make sure you aren't hammering too hard on this side, and it could expand the pin over there. So you definitely want to be careful with that when working with any kind of natural material like this mammoth ivory. If you're using some tougher stuff like micarta, you can bang away on those pretty hard and not worry about it. But with this natural material, definitely be gentle with the hammer. And you should avoid any problems. So I'll go ahead and do that for the rest of these scale pins, and then we'll be done with that piece of the build at least. So more videos hopefully coming soon. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you have any comments, suggestions, please leave them below. Thanks.